On the way to a billion-dollar deal, billionaire Jackson Cole's Bentley suddenly got a flat tire in the middle of a torrential downpour. Just when things seemed hopeless, three poor boys appeared, soaked to the bone and covered in mud, and offered a helping hand without asking for anything in return. He offered them money. They refused. A few days later, a sleek black SUV rolled into the impoverished neighborhood, carrying a surprise that stirred the entire block. The three kids had only helped change a tire, but no one could have guessed. They had changed an entire life. Don't look away. The ending will leave you speechless. Damn it! Jackson Cole gritted his teeth, slamming his hand against the steering wheel of the sleek black Bentley. Wind howled through the cracks in the doors, rain poured down in sheets, and the grey sky seemed to collapse over everything. He was on his way to the most important meeting of the year, a billion-dollar merger with a global partner. Just a few minutes late, and years of effort could unravel. Then, bam! The car lurched. The rear tire slid to one side and came to a crooked stop on the slick, grassy shoulder. One of the tires had blown out. Jackson stepped out, rain lashing his tailored suit. His leather shoes sank into a muddy puddle. He opened the trunk and stared at the spare tire and toolkit, things he had never once used in his life. No cell signal, not a soul in sight. $1 billion was ticking away with every passing second. Just as Jackson was about to scream again, a sound broke through the downpour. Light, out of place, almost absurd. Laughter. He looked up, squinting through the blurry rain. Three boys riding bikes in the storm, laughing, splashing through puddles like they were on some wild adventure. Their raincoats were worn, their pants caked in mud, but their eyes sparkled like fireworks in a storm. The oldest boy stopped, pulled back his hood, curly hair plastered to his forehead. He grinned wide. "Need some help, sir?" Jackson froze, looking down at his own hands, trembling from the cold, then back at the flat tire. My tire blew out. But I don't think you kids can really handle it." "No worries. We do this all the time. On bikes. But it's the same idea." The second boy chimed in, full of energy, like he'd just been handed a secret mission. Before Jackson could react, the three boys sprang into action like a tiny pit crew. One grabbed the jack, another the wrench, and the third stabilized the car. They worked together like a little task force in the pouring rain. No complaints, no fear, just bursts of laughter echoing through the gloomy sky. In just over 20 minutes, the Bentley was back up, resting solidly on a new tire. Jackson was still in shock. He pulled out his wallet, took a stack of bills, and offered it to the boys. "Thank you. You kids are incredible. Here, take this." But the curly-haired boy shook his head, eyes clear as glass. "We don't want any money, sir. You needed help. We just did what was right." The smallest boy, rain still dripping down his collar, smiled. "Drive safe, mister. It's dangerous out here when it rains." And with that, the three of them hopped back on their bikes and pedaled away into the storm, their laughter fading into the distance like a melody Jackson knew. He'd never forget. He got back into the car, and for a few long beats, his heart sat still. It had been so long, since someone had helped him without expecting anything in return. The Bentley sped once more through the lanes of the highway, but Jackson Cole's mind was no longer on the wheel. He was thinking about those three boys, soaked in the rain, wearing nothing but tattered ponchos and soggy shoes, yet still willing to stop in the middle of a storm to help a complete stranger. Their innocence, their pure-hearted kindness, had unexpectedly touched something deep inside him, something that had been dormant for a long time. A feeling that years of money, power, and million-dollar negotiations had never once stirred. Jackson entered the towering glass headquarters of Kohler Tech, where everything ran on a schedule down to the minute. Employees bowed their heads in greeting, an assistant followed closely behind, rattling off updates about the upcoming strategy meeting. He only nodded slightly, like a machine, his eyes staring off into the distance. Conference room, 55th floor, a walnut wood table stretched over 10 meters, 2 rows of dark-suited professionals, tablets and thick folders in hand. On the big screen, growth charts, a merger deal about to be signed. Billions of dollars were about to flow into his corporation. Everyone was excited, tense, and Jackson, he sat there, pen in hand, but his fingers felt like they were touching nothing at all. He signed. Applause erupted. Reporters were already waiting outside, a resounding success by every measure in the world of business. Yet when he returned to his office, Jackson felt no satisfaction. He loosened his tie, opened the window and stood there, watching the light drizzle still falling from the sky. The image of the three boys returned to him, their pure laughter echoing in the rain, the torn ponchos, their small hands, muddy and cold, working intently to change a tire without hesitation, without expecting anything in return. It was like a clean slice through the hardened shell he had built around himself over the years. For the first time in a long time, he felt uncertain, as if something about the way he had been living was fundamentally wrong. In Jackson's world, everything had a price. Money was the measuring stick. But the actions of those three boys had shattered every rule he had once believed to be absolute. And in that moment, a quiet question echoed in his mind. What have I left behind on this path to the top? The next morning, the quiet little neighborhood was stirred awake by an event no one could have predicted. A sleek black Bentley glided gently down the pothole-ridden dirt road, a place where no one had seen a new car in ages, let alone one of the most luxurious vehicles in the world. People whispered, doors cracked open, curious eyes peeked from inside homes. Children gathered at the end of the alley, wide-eyed as if they were watching a scene straight out of a movie. That car, oh my God, that thing must cost a fortune. Who could it be? It's been years since a fancy car came through here. The car stopped by the curb, right next to the rundown community center, where the tin roof was rusted and the peeling walls looked like they could collapse any day. The car door opened and out stepped a middle-aged man, dressed simply but exuding a quiet power. A turtleneck sweater, dark khaki pants, polished handcrafted leather shoes. No suit, no logo, and yet his presence silenced everyone with the calm authority in each step. Three boys, Reggie, Malik, and Jaden, were sitting cross-legged in the yard, cutting paper and painting signs that read, "Fundraiser to fix the roof." When they saw him, Reggie was the first to recognize the man. He rubbed his eyes and sprang to his feet like a spring. Wait, you guys look. Isn't that the flat tire guy from the other day?" Malik jumped up too, still holding a marker in his hand. "No way, he actually remembered us." Jaden pointed and giggled, completely ignoring the $1 million car behind the man. "He really came back. I thought he was gone for good after that day." Jackson laughed, the most relaxed laugh of a man who had spent years surrounded by cold handshakes in billion-dollar boardrooms. He stepped closer, looking at the three boys with an expression no investor had ever seen on his face. Warm, genuine respect. Saying thank you wasn't enough. "So I came back," he said softly. Reggie froze for a moment, then scratched his head and grinned. "But you didn't have to thank us. We just saw you stuck and helped out. Easy." Malik nodded enthusiastically. "Honestly, we were soaked like drowned rats that day. But it was fun." Jaden pointed to the half-finished poster. "We're getting ready to sell cookies for a fundraiser. You want to buy one?" Jackson paused, his eyes lingering on the boys with a depth that came from somewhere beyond words. Something inside him stirred, not because of cookies or the scribbled signs, but because of something so simple, yet priceless. The pure-hearted generosity of children who had nothing to give, except their kindness. Jackson sat down on the old stone bench beside the three boys, right next to the cracked concrete yard in front of the rundown community center. The corrugated metal roof was patchy and rusted, with some sheets barely hanging on. To the side, a rusty swing squeaked in the wind. He looked at the boys with genuine sincerity in his eyes. "I want to do something to thank you. Honestly, if it weren't for you three that day, I would have missed the biggest deal of my life." Reggie looked up and scratched his head. "You're exaggerating, sir. We only changed a tire." "Yeah, someone's in trouble, you help them." "That's it," Malik added, then burst out laughing innocently. "And honestly, you looked kinda pitiful that day. Soaked like a wet chicken." Jackson laughed. For the first time in weeks, he felt a true sense of relief. I want to give you something, anything you want. New bikes, game consoles, phones. But the three boys just looked at each other, and then Jaden gently shook his head. We don't need anything, sir, but if you really want to help. He pointed toward the leaking roof behind them. This place needs it more. It's where we play every day. The roof leaks. When it rains, the whole place gets soaked. All the toys are ruined. Reggie added, and the little kids too. One time we saw a girl get her hand cut by a rusty nail from the peeling walls. The lady who runs the place is super kind, but no one really sponsors this center. Malik rested his chin on his hand. If you could help fix this place, we'd be really happy. Jaden shrugged, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. We're fine, really. Helping this place would be better for more people. That sentence left Jackson speechless. In a world where he was used to benefit-driven contracts, used to people coming to him only because of his wealth, here were three boys who wanted nothing for themselves, no demands, no expectations. They only thought of others. A strange tightness in his chest made him turn away for a moment to hide the emotion on his face. But he only smiled and gave a quiet nod. I understand. All right, let me see what I can do. He made no promises, no flashy declarations. But in Jackson's eyes at that moment, there was a silent vow. 1 week later, on a softly sunlit morning, the small neighborhood seemed like it would remain as quiet as ever. But then, one by one, large trucks began rolling down the narrow street, stirring the whole block into a buzz. Workers in hard hats, engineers in reflective vests, people carrying loads, others surveying the site. On every truck was a logo, COLE Foundation, Community Project. Residents poured into the streets. Windows flew open. Children stopped their games, wide-eyed as truck after truck unloaded building supplies. New roofing, buckets of paint, playground equipment, study tables, chairs. All of it was being brought into the old community center, the place that had long been forgotten by the rest of the city. An elderly woman living right next door to the center said with a trembling voice, "What's going on? Who would ever invest in this rundown place?" Someone else whispered, "Are they filming a movie? Or am I dreaming in broad daylight?" While people were still trying to make sense of it all, the door of a sleek black SUV nearby opened and Jackson Cole stepped out. Simple in a rolled-up shirt and dark jeans, yet still radiating the commanding presence of a billionaire CEO. Reggie, Malik, and Jaden were there too. The three boys stood in awe like everyone else until they saw him. "Hey, Mr. Jackson," Jaden called out first, running up to him, eyes sparkling. Malik rubbed his eyes. "You really came back?" "We thought." Reggie stared, speechless. This is real? You're doing this?" "For the center." Jackson smiled, kneeling down to their level, his voice deep and warm. "You three didn't think I heard everything, did you? Your kindness. It didn't ask for a reward, but it deserves to be known by the world." He gently patted Malik on the shoulder. "That day, you didn't just help me change a tire. You helped me change the way I see life." People began to understand. A ripple of applause broke out from somewhere, then spread like a wave. Adults wiped tears from their eyes. Children cheered and jumped with joy. The center's manager embraced Jackson, overcome with emotion. But he simply smiled, stepped onto a small wooden platform and spoke clearly. "Don't thank me. Thank these three incredible boys, Reggie, Malik, and Jaden. It was them who reminded me that true, genuine kindness is the most valuable thing we have." The entire neighborhood erupted. Amid the sound of hammers, saws, and joyful laughter, something had changed forever in this poor little corner of the city. All thanks to the small but mighty kindness of three teenage boys. The grand opening of the new community center arrived under brilliant golden sunlight, as if the sky itself was smiling down on this little neighborhood. The once dilapidated center had been completely transformed. A shiny new metal roof, bright freshly painted walls, a wide play area surfaced with soft rubber, and modern playground equipment built especially for children. Beneath the big tree stood rows of brand new benches, a small stage, and a prominent engraved sign, Coltech Community Center for the Future of Children. People from all around the neighborhood gathered like it was a festival. Children wore new clothes, laughing joyfully. Everyone looked radiant, a mix of wonder and happiness. And standing out in the crowd were the three boys, Reggie, Malik, and Jaden, the most anticipated guests of all. "Ready?" Jackson gently asked, leaning down to speak to the boys who were nervously fidgeting in their brand-new outfits. "Yes, sir. But are we really going up on stage?" Jaden asked hesitantly. Jackson smiled, adjusted Reggie's collar, and nodded. "You boys are the reason everyone is here today. This is your day." When the ribbon was cut, the whole neighborhood erupted in applause. The three boys were invited to be the first to run into the new playground. Malik swung himself onto the monkey bars, Jaden raced down the slide, and Reggie couldn't stop laughing as he hopped onto the newly installed swing set. Their faces lit up so brightly. It made Jackson Cole, a man who had long shut off his emotions after years of boardroom battles, quietly turn away to hide the tears welling in his eyes. On stage, Jackson stepped forward to a wave of clapping that seemed never-ending. He took the microphone, his voice deep and warm, carrying over the joyful crowd. Today is not just the opening of a new center. It marks the beginning of something greater. He extended his arm toward the three boys. "These three children helped me change a tire in the middle of a storm. But the truth is, they changed the way I see kindness, community, and the future." He paused for a few seconds, then continued, "I'm proud to announce the creation of the Reggie Malik Jaden Foundation, dedicated to supporting education, daily living, and development for children in underserved communities like this one. The foundation will operate long-term, not just in this city, but reaching many others." Another wave of applause surged through the crowd, but Jackson wasn't finished. "And, as a personal thank you," he turned, looking directly at the three boys, his voice thick with emotion, "I've decided to sponsor full scholarships for all three of you. Any school, any field of study. From this day forward, all you have to do is focus on learning and being good people. The rest, I'll take care of." The crowd went silent for a moment, and then burst into a chorus of cheers and tears. Some wept, some shouted with joy, and the three boys just stood frozen, eyes wide, mouths agape. "For real? Really, sir?" Malik stammered. Jackson stepped down and embraced all three boys. "I've never joked about anyone's future, especially not kids with hearts as pure as yours." A reporter stepped up, holding out a microphone. "Mr. Cole, what made you decide something this big? Was it because they helped you out that day?" Jackson turned back, smiling gently, eyes glistening. "Yes, they helped me with a flat tire. But the truth is, those three boys changed the way I see life." In that moment, amid the laughter of children, the grateful eyes of the townspeople, and the air thick with compassion, Jackson Cole's heart was truly healed, and the simple kindness of three once anonymous boys had now touched the hearts of thousands. You've just watched a heartwarming story, where three boys, with nothing but kindness, gave away a gift far more valuable than any amount of money. And a man who thought he had understood everything about the world had to relearn the most basic lesson of all. Giving without expecting is when we receive the most. From a flat tire in the middle of a storm, to a brand new community center, a scholarship fund established, and the futures of hundreds of children unlocked. It all started with one small act. You see, we don't have to be billionaires to change someone's life. Sometimes, just being willing to help someone in need is enough to light up an entire world. If this story moved you, please hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next video. Stories of kindness, inspiration, and deep emotional impact. And don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one, and we'd love to hear your story too. Because kindness is real, and each of us has the power to make a difference.